I was thinking you are a glutton for punishment. Last time I spoke to you, you did a fantastic job of taking Let the Right One In and make it into Let Me In. And in this one, you said at that time, you said that most remakes are horrendous. And I think most people would agree that sequels are rarely equals. And yet, you took on a sequel here and made a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Was there a real kind of worry right up into that opening weekend in America? Or what did you know on the set that you'd...
Well, there's always a worry about whatever movie you're making. I guess I felt like one of the things that I really liked about entering this world in terms of doing a sequel per se is that each of the ape stories in the Planet of the Apes, though Roddy McDowall is in virtually all of them, I think, not completely, but almost all of them, they all feel like their own movie. And I think that the stories lent themselves to that. And I felt that there was a chance here to do a story that, though it was a continuation of Rise, was so different from Rise in terms of what it is because of the time jump, because of the conflict. I mean, Rise is such a sneak-up-on-you film because it starts as this almost domestic drama with science as a backdrop, and then it turns into a prison movie, and then there's this kind of like confrontation on the bridge, and then just at the end, in the end titles, bam, they hit you with the viral apocalypse, literally with a graphic. So you're left going like, oh, this is how it becomes Planet of the Apes. It's all been building to this. So that leap between where that ends and where we are is so different that I felt that there was a real chance to do something that felt very much of its own while still entering this universe. So in that sense, I wasn't that worried that we were going to let people down. But now that you mention it, you get me scared. So.
I know that I mentioned there at the start you're a glutton for punishment. The idea of taking motion capture, the volume, out of the studio and into the woods, and also 3D equipment out into the woods, these truck-size
that was a mistake.
Equipment.
Yeah.
And I know one of the producers here, he basically said in his best English, it's a real fucker of a process. Just that idea of being out there, and I don't know, maybe it's, and as I said, the great film at the end of it, so all's good that ends, all's well that ends well. But that must have been at times a bit of a hair puller that I'm in the woods, I've got to do 3D, I've got to do CGI.
It was crazy. It was crazy, and I knew it would be bad when I pushed us to do it, but I didn't know it would be bad as it was, because I wanted us to shoot in real environments because I thought it would add to the reality of the CG, that it would make everything seem that much more authentic. But I also didn't realize just how hard it would be to take those. I'd never shot native 3D before, which are basically two cameras mounted on one mount that has a kind of a rig that keeps them in proper orientation that's so heavy that you have to shoot them on techno cranes. So you're on a hillside in the rain and the freezing cold with fiber optic cable, with cameras all around you that record just motion, and then the actual cameras themselves, which are actually two cameras on cranes, and then everyone's out there in these outfits, and it's freezing. I got pneumonia. I mean, it was crazy, but it was also, aside from the pneumonia, very exciting. I mean, it was because you could feel the reality of it, and part of the idea was this exploration in a way. I wanted it to be like, like Apocalypse Now Apes. I wanted us to be in the wild, and so in that sense, it was exciting because we were in those spaces. When you really can go somewhere, and that's where you shoot it, it adds a vitality.
I was thinking, you've had great success. Cloverfield and Let Me In, but this one especially, 73 million over the weekend in the US. It's got that sort of sense now that it's going to be big all over the world. When you were 13 and you and J.J. Abrams are friends, and I don't know whether you even knew then, right? You get the award for, Mr. Petrified Forest, and I think we're kind of back there almost. But that idea that the two of you had this love for cinema, and now he's off doing Star Wars, and he's obviously been involved with a few films of yours, and you're doing, this wonderful big movie. It's almost like the sort of children of Lucas and Spielberg have sort of grown up to be in the same world. I don't know if it sort of catches you by surprise that
weird,
actually both of you did make it and you're on that other side.
It's, if you stop to think about it, it's extraordinary. I mean, we're so lucky, both of us, that we get to do. I mean, it's all we wanted to do. We met as kids, wanted to do it, and you're right, we were inspired by the films of like Lucas and Spielberg and all the kind of American filmmakers of those time, of that time, like Scorsese and Coppola and all this thing. And the idea that somehow we would be making these kind of grand entertainments when we were adults, and it's pretty crazy to think about.
I just want to thank you, too, for giving me the plot of the new Star Wars film just before the cameras rolled.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
I know that it's just announced that you're going to do the sequel to this particular... I don't know, this movie. I don't know whether there's a sense already of where that's going to go. I don't know if you've got a very strong feeling of, this is the plot, I know what we're going to do.
Well, we are still working out the plot, but it's going to definitely emanate from the continuing story of Caesar and the generation that follows him toward this. To me, I keep thinking of him as this sort of, Moses of the Apes. He's this mythical, seminal character in early ape history who is leading them down this path, and a path that eventually leads toward the '68 movie. So it feels like it's kind of a grand saga that goes, kind of like a generational family story.
It's kind of freaky that, for me, the CGI world that had been sort of, been evolving, it's got to the point now we don't even think about the strings. We don't see the strings, and we don't think about it anymore. And
it's only going to get better, actually.
Right. And this is another fine circus act. I mean, the Andy Serkis just does an incredible job again here. And everybody around him, of course, as well. But we are at that point now where I never think about it anymore, that this is not...
Well, that's why you can do these stories, because if you were thinking about it, you wouldn't be able to give yourself over emotionally. And I think that's one of the exciting things about, as the technology gets better and better and the illusion becomes more and more seamless, you submit to the illusion more readily, and it makes I think it makes for some amazing and exciting cinema.
I've got to wrap up now, but last time I spoke to you back in, I think it was November 2010, whatever it was, around that let me in.
That sounds right.
You just mentioned as an aside that you have some Irish heritage, which would explain all the talent and the good looks and all those things.
Yes,
but
good, thank you.
Did you know, have you been told where exactly that line goes back to?
I actually don't know. I mean, I know that on my grandfather's side, my grandfather, his name was Raymond Corey, and his family came from Ireland.
Well, our economy's bad. We'll need about 5% of your earnings for the next 10 years. Just so you know,
very
we'll
good.
do a
That's
deal.
nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just a nice heritage thing.
Okay,
Lovely to talk to you, man.
Good talking to you.
Yeah, good work, man. It's always,
Thank you.
Always a great surprise.